Psalm chapter 9 and chapter 10 may originally have been one chapter. In fact, in the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament that was made during the time of Alexander the Great, where Hebrew was translated into Greek, it shows up as one chapter. On this occasion, I just want to talk about what we find as chapter 10 in our English Bible. These 18 verses deal with the cravings of an evil heart. It's interesting the way that David talks about the conditions and the problems that are brought to bear by somebody that fits this kind of category. To begin with, it starts this way. In his arrogance, the wicked man hunts down the weak who are caught in the schemes he devises. It's really a recognition that these individuals living this way could care less about the people that are being oppressed. They don't care about anybody really at all. Now, they may say they do, but actions speak much louder than words. Now, why is that the case? Beginning in verse number 3, down through verse number 6. He boasts of the cravings of his heart. He blesses the greedy and reviles the Lord. In his pride, the wicked does not seek him, does not seek God. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. His ways, the ways of the wicked, are always prosperous. He is haughty in your laws, God's laws, are far from him. He sneers at all his enemies. He says to himself, nothing will shake me. I'll always be happy and never have trouble. It's almost a kind of a vicious, evil mindset of a Pollyannish kind of attitude. I'm never going to have any problems because I'm on top of everything. I can hurt whomever I please. I can devise any kind of scheme that keeps the oppressed in that condition of being oppressed. I can even tell them that I'm doing them a favor. I can actually devise all these schemes, and I can hunt down the wicked in the process as those that actually fulfill those schemes. In fact, he sees himself as his own authority. Greediness is something that's involved, and he encourages that. He blesses the greedy. He reviles the concept of God. He doesn't seek any kind of aspect of truth other than his own. He does not seek God. All his thoughts, there is no room for God. The idea of any kind of absolute authority, he can't abide by that. He views himself as always being prosperous. I'll make it prosperous no matter whom I have to hurt. He is arrogant in the laws of God. Any kind of law that is greater than himself is something that's far from him, and he sneers at his enemies. Nothing will shake me, he says. I will always be happy and never, ever have trouble. Why is that the case? I'm above the law. Beginning in verse number 7 through verse number 11, David actually talks about the way that this individual victimizes humanity. His mouth is full of curses and lies and threats. Trouble and evil are under his tongue. He lies in wait near the villages, and from ambush he murders the innocent, watching in secret for his victims. Verse number 9, he lies in wait like a lion in cover. He lies in wait to catch the helpless. He catches the helpless and drags them off in his net. His victims are crushed. They collapse. They fall under his strength. He says to himself, God has forgotten. He covers his face and never sees. I can get away with anything and everything I desire. By the time you get to verse number 12 and verse number 13, the mindset of the wicked is a mindset that says, nobody's going to challenge me. Here's the way it reads. Arise, O Lord, lift up your hand, O God. Do not forget the helpless. Why does the wicked man revile God? Why does he say to himself, he won't call me to account? Because he doesn't think anything's going to happen. Nobody's going to challenge the evil intent. Contrast to that, verse number 14. You, O God, do see trouble and grief. You do consider it and take it in hand. The victim commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. There's that awareness of David. Judgment, verse 15. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Break his strength. Break that power. Call him to account for his wickedness that would not be found out. The wicked doesn't think anybody's going to actually call him into account for anything that he's done. But that needs to actually take place. Call him into account for his wickedness that he thought would not be found out. The latter part of this, empathy and defense, verse 17, talking about God. You hear, O Lord, the desire of the afflicted. You encourage them and you listen to their cry, defending the fatherless and the oppressed, in order that man who is of the earth may terrify it no more. Those principles, those precepts of justice, of equality, not of somebody's brand of equity that makes no sense whatsoever, but viewing things in a just and fair and righteous manner, what are the precepts upon which those laws of God are based? Precepts we need to follow. It's amazing that this chapter, Psalm chapter 10, like so many others, when you read through them, that sounds like some kind of editorial that shows up in today's newspaper, because it describes in so many ways the atrocities that are being committed against humanity by people that are trying to convince the oppressed that we're not really oppressing you, we're actually helping you out. Common sense seems to be a thing of the past. Justice basically has no meaning whatsoever in so many circles in the culture in which we live. Read through chapter 10 again and see how it mirrors the problems of the cravings, of the evil hearts that exist in so many places in our culture and need to be a thing of the past. Interesting chapter. Please stay safe. We'll talk again soon.